Welcome back. You're watching the Global Dialogue, and we're in conversation with the Managing Director of Operations at the World Bank. You spoke about how the private sector can do its part in being able to achieve some of the targets that you highlighted there on the gender front. But largely, the role of the private sector, part of the World Bank's ambition to leverage its balance sheet and involve the private sector as well. Where do things currently stand on that? How confident do you feel about the private sector's role and participation in addressing some of these pressing needs?
Yes. So definitely no one institution or any sort of source of funding can alone solve the problems that the world meets. So we need to work together, both the public and the private, but also partnerships. So we have emphasized now a lot working with our partners. So we have memorandums of understanding with practically every other development institution. We're innovating most recently with the Asian Development Bank to have something we call full mutual reliance framework, which is that if we work together on a project, we use one institution's policies and procedures so we don't burden our clients with multiple policies and procedures. But coming back on the private sector, we put together a very helpful group of private sector CEOs that helped identify and work with us to see what do we need to create in the markets we work in to be able to attract more private sector. And there were a couple of things that stand out. First and foremost, countries need to do their part, governments, to ensure that the policy and regulatory environment is stable. There's nothing worse for a private sector investor than when you don't know the environment you're operating in, or the one you go into changes frequently. So that's one thing. The second thing is that there are still, even with that, a need to make sure that there is de-risking and guarantees. So one thing we have done very recently is created a unified platform for guarantees, and it's already starting to become such a bigger part of our service offering and of our business. And the third part is thinking about what's needed in the local market. And one key issue that's come up here is actually local currency financing. So we're offering quite a bit of that now, which is also what the private sector is asking for. But then it's also about thinking big and bold.
As you look at India, you know, the role, significance and relevance of India from the World Bank's perspective in being able to nurture some of these solutions that you were just talking about. I mean, where do you see India fitting in all of this?
In so many places. And I think what's so exciting about our partnership with India is that India clearly appreciates from the World Bank Group our knowledge and our financing and the solutions that the private sector parts of the World Bank can bring. But what really excites me is actually the knowledge India has that we can help India bring to other countries. And India has done so much. I mean, let me just start with female labor force participation. Even though there's room to improve, what India has done to be able to ensure safe infrastructure in the form of housing to women, safe transport in the context of proximity of transport solutions close to that housing, as well as safety in housing by having things like biometric pass into the housing where women live, who have come often from rural areas to urban areas to seek jobs or to seek skills through education and training. And I think this is just great. The same with access to finance. So I think India can really share its experiences on an inclusive development process for women that is also tailored to the industries and the different pathways of careers that women are looking for. Second area, I think, is, of course, India has, in the last few years, really increased renewable energy capacity in India. And by doing so, really increased its capacity to actually produce what the world is looking for, which is technology in solar and wind, for example. So I would love to see India participate in these big initiatives like what we're trying to do in Africa and be a real player and partner in some of these projects and programs that we're looking to attract financing for, but also the equipment for. And thirdly, I think there are so many interesting things in the context of urban development that India is thinking through, particularly this concept of livability. And I know that there's a big focus on quality of life in India because India is a huge country, large population growth with urban settings and urban areas that have really been under pressure because of growth. How do you make sure these cities grow in a way that also provides high quality of life. That means air quality, access to clean water, sewage treatment and sewage disposal methodologies, and something that I know is a big priority now, which is cleaning up rivers in India. And I really commend India for taking on this very, very strong nexus of environmental management, infrastructure development, and health and quality of life.
Well, you know, Anna, I said I would get to the bigger, better ambition of the World Bank. I understand that it's work in progress, but how much bigger and how much better has the World Bank gotten since Ajay Banga articulated that move?
Yes, so it's been an incredible, pretty much just over a year and a half since Ajay joined us. I think one of the first things he did was reformulate our vision and mission, which is to end poverty on a livable planet. And that livable planet is really important because that gets to some of these issues of what does it take for a human being to really prosper in life.
Thank you very much for your time and look forward to more conversation with you on where the bank sees the world as well as sees India. Thanks very much, Anna, for joining us here on the Global Dialogue.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the Global Dialogue. We are going to take a break here on CNBC TV 18. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment with more.